Ford Motor Company for the last 4 years has been recognized as one of the most ethical companies in the world, mostly because of their stance concerning the environment and corporate governance. And my perception is that the reason that this is the way it is because it is a family-controlled company. It's one of the largest industrial family-controlled companies in the world. And whatever the company does reflects on the family, and whatever the family does reflects on the company. So, you know, ethics comes from, as you all probably know, the Greek word ethos, you know, which is character. So it's important for, you know, companies to have character, and that character is basically based on the behavior of people and the mission of the corporation, et cetera. But anyway, I was born in Detroit, obviously, and part of the Ford family, and I grew up with a great deal of wealth and opulence, et cetera, like that, and in a fishbowl. So I grew up learning to operate in a way where people were always looking at you. So I don't know if you would call that forced ethics or what, but you know, we always, you know, we were always under the microscope. So you know, our behavior was examined, and we examined our own behavior. But you know, I had cousins. My cousin Bill and my cousin Etzel. We're a small family. Henry Ford only had one child, and his Etzel. Whose name is famous for something else, you know, that we all know about. But anyway, Etzel had 4 children, one of whom was my mother, and my mother was Henry Ford's only granddaughter, and she married another Ford, not related, from another Ford family in Detroit. So yeah, I would just want to make that clear, you know. So when she got married, her name was Josephine Ford. So anyway, so, you know, I grew up in that family, and, you know, it was a very rare privilege, but I was, you know, the youngest of my family, and I was also not really, you know, the son of a son. I was the son of the daughter, so I wasn't in direct line, although it went, from the beginning, it went Henry, Etzel, Etzel, Henry, Henry, Etzel, so it goes like that. But I wasn't in direct line, so I kind of gave myself permission to live life on the edge, you know, and to take a radical new look at life. And when I went through college, it was in 1968, so you can imagine in the United States, it was a crazy time. And nobody was really learning very much about anything, you know, because I went to Tulane University, which is, you know, in New Orleans, and they were blowing up buildings and protests, and it was just a crazy time in America. But I took a great interest in spiritual life, in Indian mysticism and spiritual life. And the interesting thing was that Henry Ford also had a very strong interest in spiritual life. He was able to take apart watches when he was 9 years old and put them back together again. And he could not understand where he got this knowledge from, because he had no training, he had nothing at all. He just grew up on a farm. And he didn't know how he knew to do all this, and he came to the conclusion that he was from another life. So he delved into the science of reincarnation and bought books on it and studied it. And he also was a vegetarian, which most people don't know. And he also was one of the foremost researchers of soybeans, which I hear are very popular here in South Africa. So I'll have you know, he did one of the original research into soybean as food and making cars out of soybeans. So, you know, I mean, I don't know how it would have developed, you know, when, you know, you can drive home and then eat your car for dinner, you know, I don't know. But anyway. So, you know, I took after that side of him where I was interested in spiritual life. I studied Buddhism and Taoism and everything, and all these religious systems I studied when I was in college. And I think I started to develop some different character from reading these books and learning to think on a consciousness level. And, you know, I finally latched on to Hinduism, which I really resonated with me. And, you know, read books like the Bhagavad Gita, et cetera, like that. And, you know, through that learned, you know, how to address certain ethical and moral issues and, you know, difficult situations in life. And it helped me out a great deal because, you know, to be quite truthful, I didn't get a lot of that education when I was growing up in this family. We had a lot of everything, and I learned a lot about fine art. You know, our house was full with great masterpieces of art, and I learned a lot about that. But as far as morals and ethics and character building, I really didn't learn about that, so I had to go out and do my own investigation. So I got into the culture of India. I traveled to India many times a year. I still do. My wife is Bengali. She's a doctor, a PhD in microbiology. So I met her in 1984, and we got married. And you know, from that relationship and from my relationship with India and going back and forth, I was able to have the opportunity to get involved in businesses that were based in India or connected with India, or you know, with Indian people involved in them. One of my big investments now is a company called NanoBioSim, and its founder is Anita Goyal, who's a double PhD from Harvard and Stanford. You know, so I didn't know you know how I was going to get along with her at all, but we're very tight, very close. Anyway, she's invented a small chip that goes into like a cell phone sized device and can go into rural areas and underserved areas of the world, Africa, you know, South America, and places, India especially, and places like that, and it can take a drop of blood and diagnose pathogens in a matter of minutes. So she's invented this, she's patented it, it's in the testing phase now. And she's a wonderful person, and this is the kind of, and her focus is to try to help people in the world. It's not just to go out and try to make a lot of money and corner the market and, you know, try to screw your competitors, you know, which is quite common these days.